things for about 25 years now, and it was interesting because over Christmas I was talking to a guy, 25-year-old guy, an American guy who said, "Oh, I've got my tickets booked for these screenings." And I knew that this guy was a bit of a fan and that he'd seen the Lord of the Rings films, many times. And I said to him, "Well, why are you going? Why actually buying a ticket and going?" He said, "Well, I was too young to see them in the theatre when they first come out, so I've only ever seen these films on a small screen, as DVDs, Blu-rays, and so it's my first chance to actually see them on the big screen again." I thought, yeah, and so I actually understood why you're all here tonight. I'm sure there's other reasons why you're here, but it actually kind of made sense to me. The Fellowship of the Ring, well, it's 25 years is a long time, but there's certain things that stand out. I mean, the thing with these movies, of course, is we shot all three of them at the same time, and then in a mix-up kind of way. So, one day we'd be shooting a bit from the Fellowship, then, that would be on Monday. On Tuesday, we'd shoot a scene from the Two Towers. On Wednesday, back to Fellowship again. On Thursday, Return to the King. So, we kind of, it was just one film, really, for us. And it just put the spotlight on these three movies, these three Lord of the Rings films that were being shot back to back, and it put the spotlight on, well, what happens if the first film is a flop? What happens if the Fellowship of the Ring comes out and it's a flop? They've already shot the other two, so what are they going to go straight onto TV? I mean, what is there a plan? And certainly, there was no plan was ever discussed with us, but the media was talking about this, and it began to sort of have lots of stories about the fact that these three Tolkien films that were being shot down in New Zealand are probably going to fail, because fantasy was not a particularly successful genre in cinema at the time, and so it was sort of regarded as being a folly, and that New Line would probably be destroyed, that it might be an excuse for a Warners to get rid of New Line because they've lost all this money on these Tolkien movies. And there was just this relentless sort of press started to happen while we were filming, and looking back on it now, my memory of that time is all this. It was almost like we were shooting the movie in a kind of a headwind of kind of all this expectation. And it got to the point that people would, you couldn't help but feel that a lot of these journalists were wanting it to fail because it's going to be really interesting to see how they get out of the train wreck of these three Tolkien movies if they fail. That was sort of that was going to be exciting. But when you're making the films, you've got a choice. You can either read this press and sort of curl up in the corner and not come to work in the morning, or you can just say, stuff you. You think they're going to fail. We're not. We're actually going to make a great film. And in a way that relentlessly negative expectation in the media all through the shooting of the film sort of fueled us. It was like this sort of energy drink that just sort of fueled us, and not just me, it was the cast, the crew. It just fueled us into wanting to prove them wrong. And I guess we did prove them wrong, didn't we? But sorry, cheap. And so that was really my a memory of this time. Fellowship of the Ring. It was one of the things that I remember with Fellowship is that the film was going to come out in December 2001, and New Line contacted us early in the year, in that final year, and that year is spent doing all the editing, sound effects, and CGI and everything else. It's a very, very, very busy time, very intense time doing the post. And they about February they contacted us and said, could you possibly have 20-25 minutes of the Fellowship of the Ring finished by May? And it was like, what? Because you don't expect to have to finish 25 minutes. You sort of work your way through the year, and then it just all comes together at the end. And they said, yeah, we've got the current film, it was in May. matinee and we want to screen like 25 minutes of the film to get some early interest. And I think that was actually New Line themselves being a bit worried about the negative press, and so they thought that they had a good film and they wanted to shift the media. So that was actually it was a shock, but we said, okay, right, yeah, we'll do it. Howard Shaw came down to New Zealand and recorded the score because the idea was if we're going to do 25 minutes, let's not just do it in a temp way. Let's just make it a solid, finished piece of film that will stay in the movie. And so we chose the Mines of Moria sequence, which you'll see in this film halfway through. Because it's a nice contained piece. They go into the mines, stuff happens, and they leave. And so so the Mines of Moria sequence in a way is always sort of my mind as somewhat of my favourite scene in Fellowship, because it was it was made, it was finished off under very weird circumstances to get this really for the Cannes Film Festival, and but it was good. It did actually change the narrative after Cannes screening in May. The story started to talk about how these films might actually succeed and they might be good films. That was sort of it shifted the whole thing. So it was a very clever, smart move that New Line did. The Mines of Moria scene too. The other thing I remember is we're shooting Barlin's tomb when the cave troll is about to attack. And on that particular day, it was on a Monday, and we all show up to shoot that scene. And Vigo had been out with the Hobbits during the weekend, and he'd been surfing, and he had sustained a injury surfing. Like the board had flipped in the air and whacked him in the face. So he comes in and he's got his eye is bulged out, black eye shut, like a boxer, like swollen. And he says, I'm sorry, Peter, I'm sorry. And I said, oh God. So you'll see that all I could do was to shoot him from the side. I couldn't shoot. I had to. So you'll see in the certainly just watch for the bit when the cave trolls coming into the going to attack them. That little sequence here that Vigo is always seen from the side. Because I had no other choice. So those little stories stand out, and also it was also trying to craft an ending that was, the weird thing with doing 3 films that you actually you're doing them at the same time, so you're having to shape them all. As you want the ending to be satisfying, you want it to be a positive, ending to your story of that particular film, but you want to make it feel like there's more to come, where the story's not over yet. I mean, it's sort of a cliffhanger, but we didn't want to do a cliffhanger as such. We just wanted to invite the audience back to the Two Towers the following year, but make the audience feel like they've had a reasonably satisfying ending. So that was tricky to craft all that too. But anyway. Thank you for coming. I'm going to shut up. This is not a short film, so you should start to watch it. Thank you very much.